Have you ever gazed up at the expanse of the firmament and felt in your spirit that the Most High was sending a direct signal to the nations? It is as if the entire cosmos pressed the pause button just for a split second to grant you a revelation of a power far greater than any government or earthly system. Well, brothers and sisters, that is exactly the magnitude of what is unfolding. This prophetic alignment is taking place on March 3rd, 2026. Now listen closely, because this is not just another standard astronomical event. This is a biblical blood moon, a total lunar eclipse that signals a shifting of the ages. The moon is positioned in the meticulous sign of Virgo, the Virgin representing the harvest and judgment, directly opposing the sun in Pisces, which symbolizes the end of the current age and the deep, intuitive waters of the spirit. What this means is that this eclipse is not merely illuminating the night sky. It is holding up a divine mirror to your soul, forcing a balance between the structures you have built in Babylon and the ancient inner truths you may have buried deep down. And understand this, family, total lunar eclipses are rare occurrences in the celestial clockwork, often marking the rise and fall of kings and kingdoms. But this specific event is exceptionally long-lasting, almost a full hour, which gives the chosen ones ample time to truly tap into its frequency and discern the time we are living in. It is an opportunity to catch the subtle nudges from the Creator. It feels as though the universe itself is whispering to your spirit, asking, what baggage from the past are you still dragging that is blocking your ascension? What generational cycles are finally ready to be broken? What hidden revelations are standing right in front of your face, waiting for you to open your spiritual eyes and acknowledge them? I need you to really sit with that inquiry for a moment, because this presentation is going to take you on a deep dive that merges the hard science of the eclipse with the prophetic understanding of the times. We are going to decode the symbolism written in the stars, the ripple effects it will have on your personal walk, and the massive vibration shifts hitting the planet. We will also touch on the undeniable changes happening in the geopolitical landscape around us. This moment demands your discernment, your full attention, and a heightened state of awareness. Do not fall into panic and do not succumb to fear. This is a divine invitation to explore the deeper mysteries, to pay attention to the signs, and to reflect on your purpose. If you are tuning into this message right now, believe me, it is not by coincidence or accident. You were guided here to bear witness, to consider the times, and perhaps to catch a revelation of the great awakening that has been bubbling beneath the surface of society for centuries. By the time we finish this breakdown, you will begin to understand why eclipses are about so much more than just the moon turning blood red in the heavens. They are fundamentally about the light and truth you bring into your own existence, the clarity you can manifest in a world full of confusion, and the powerful decisions you are empowered to make when you stop moving on autopilot and start walking in your true identity. So if you are ready to see with spiritual eyes, I need you to take action right now. Smash that like button to spread this truth, and make sure you are locked into this platform so you do not miss any future updates. And right there in the comments section, I want you to type the numbers 333. Consider it a signal to yourself and the community, a prophetic marker that you are stepping into this season with pure intention and open eyes. Because let's be real, this eclipse is not some random, meaningless event floating in the sky. It is a designated time for deep reflection, for downloading divine insight, and for waking up to the hard truths that society has tried to distract you from. These are the kinds of truths that, once accepted, will gently but radically shift the way you navigate through this matrix from this day forward. When we speak on the lunar eclipse of March 3rd, 2026, we are not just chatting about something you look at for 5 minutes and then go back to sleep. This is a sovereign moment that commands the attention of every watchman on the wall. It is a cosmic pause button, inviting us to perceive our reality through a higher dimension. So let us break down the science for a minute. And do not worry, I am going to keep it simple so we can all grasp the mechanics of the Most High's creation. A total lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth positions itself directly between the Sun and the Moon. Our planet casts its massive shadow across the lunar surface, blocking the solar light that usually reflects off the Moon. But here is where it gets incredibly deep and fascinating. Even though the direct sunlight is blocked, some rays still manage to reach the Moon by passing through the Earth's atmosphere, filtering out the noise. The shorter blue wavelengths get scattered away, leaving only the longer red wavelengths to pass through, which bathes the Moon in that deep, mesmerizing, coppery red glow. That is exactly why the ancients and the scriptures refer to it as a blood moon. The color is not there to scare you. It is a sign. It is simply the light bending through our atmosphere, transforming a familiar object in the night sky into something supernatural to behold. But what makes this specific eclipse truly significant is not just the crimson glow, but the rarity of the timing. This is the only total lunar eclipse we will see in the entire year of 2026. And after this event concludes, the next total lunar eclipse will not grace our skies until late 2028 or possibly 2029, depending on where you are stationed on the globe. That means this is not a spectacle you can just catch next week. It is a singular, defined event in the heavens that will not be repeated for years to come. And for those of you who really pay attention to the signs and wonders, the Moon occasionally drops even bigger surprises. In very rare instances, you might witness a selenelion, a phenomenon where both the Moon and the Sun appear in the sky simultaneously during an eclipse, all because the Earth's atmosphere bends the geometry of light. It is one of those precise, magical coincidences that remind us that the cosmos operates on a divine timeline and rhythm far more accurate than any clock mankind has ever created. Now let's discuss who gets to see this. This total lunar eclipse is not being done in a corner. It is a global signal. Depending on where you reside, you will witness the different stages of this prophetic unfolding. You will see the penumbral phase, where the Moon first begins to dim slightly, like a lamp being lowered. Then comes the partial phase, where the shadow starts to creep across the surface like judgment entering the land. And finally, totality, when the Moon is fully immersed in Earth's shadow, glowing that rich blood red for nearly 59 minutes. That is almost a full hour to pause, to breathe in the gravity of the moment, and to reflect while the Moon silently testifies of the vast, intricate mechanics at play above our heads. From the lands of Asia to Europe and all the way to the Americas, billions of people will have the chance to witness this sign. Although the specific timing and the angle will vary depending on your geographic location, the message remains the same. For one night, the Moon becomes a shared experience for the entire world, uniting us all under the same banner of awe and wonder. It is a collective moment to look up and realize that the awakening we have been waiting for is written in the sky itself. Even though we are scattered across different nations and separated by vast oceans, never forget that we are all standing under the exact same prophetic canopy, watching the same divine clockwork turn in the heavens. While the scientific explanation for these celestial movements is undeniably impressive, the spiritual weight and the visceral emotional impact of these events are what truly shake our spirits awake. I want you to really meditate on this for a moment. Once every few years, the Most High literally hits a switch in the firmament, altering the reality of the sky right in front of our faces to send a signal. That familiar white moon, which usually hangs there as a silent, steady witness to our nights, suddenly undergoes a terrifying and beautiful metamorphosis, turning into a glowing, blood-red orb that demands you stop everything and pay attention. It is not just a pretty light show. It is a cosmic invitation that forces deep reflection, sparks an intense curiosity, and triggers a profound sense of awe regarding our place in this universe. You might find your heart pounding a little harder in your chest, your intuition sharpening like a blade, or your eyes locked on the horizon much longer than normal, sensing that something major is shifting in the atmosphere. There is an undeniable power in witnessing these rare alignments that unlocks a higher level of consciousness. It acts as a subtle spiritual nudge, urging you to decode the patterns written in the stars and the corresponding patterns buried deep within your own soul. For thousands of years, our ancestors and ancient civilizations didn't just look up at eclipses as random scientific happenings. They understood them as critical markers, prophetic signposts, and omens of massive transition. These are the pivotal moments that have historically aligned with the fall of empires, the rising of new leadership, societal collapses, and radical shifts in our personal destinies. Even though modern science can explain the orbital mechanics, it cannot explain away the feeling in your gut. As we see the moon turning to blood, it serves as a stark reminder that time is not linear but cyclical, and that the shaking and transitioning we experience are part of a massive divine rhythm that connects every single one of us. So as we march toward this massive eclipse event, do not just treat it like another headline or a cool view. You need to hold space for the spiritual gravity of this timeline and let yourself feel the absolute rarity of what is happening. Let your mind be blown by the precision of the solar system. Sure, but more importantly, focus on the mirror it is holding up to your life and the revelation it is trying to birth within your spirit. You need to ask yourself what cycles, what hidden agendas, or what crossroads in your life are being illuminated by this cosmic spotlight right now. And never forget, the physics and the math do not subtract from the miracle. They actually deepen the mystery and prove the existence of an intelligent designer. Understanding the refraction of light that turns the moon red does not kill the awe. It enhances it, grounding our wonder in the realization of just how complex and intentional this creation really is. It is a rare occasion when the heavens open up and invite us to perceive our reality through a different lens. This eclipse is far more than a spectacle for the masses. It is a divine alert that the universe is alive, pulsing with divine timing, perfect alignment, and windows of opportunity for repentance and reflection. The only real question is, will you look up or will you stay distracted? Now that we have laid the foundation regarding the science and the rarity of this upcoming lunar event, we need to peel back the layers and look at the real meat of the matter, the personal, spiritual, and energetic implications of the moon sitting in Virgo while opposing the sun in Pisces. This is where the universe stops speaking in the language of gravity and physics and starts speaking the language of the soul, dealing with reflection, spiritual equilibrium, and brutal self-awareness. The axis between Virgo and Pisces represents one of the most powerful contrasts in the entire zodiac, a true battle between the physical and the spiritual. On one side of the battlefield, you have Virgo representing the earth, the practical, the analytical, the structure, and the need for precision in our daily walk. It is a trumpet call to get your house in order, to pay attention to the minute details, to refine your vessel, and to focus on tangible healing. But on the other side, Pisces is whispering about the unseen realm, the intuitive waters, the emotional depths, and the connection to the Creator. Pisces challenges us to surrender control, to tap into our feelings, to trust the divine flow of things, and to embrace the mysteries of this walk that we simply cannot manipulate or dominate. When the moon is locked in Virgo and the sun is blazing in Pisces, the cosmos is orchestrating a massive tug-of-war between the flesh and the spirit, shining a high-beam light on exactly where our lives are out of alignment, exposing where our practical earthly habits are crashing violently against our spiritual dreams, where our routines are blessing us or where they have become chains, preventing us from ascending to higher understanding. This eclipse is hitting at exactly 12 degrees of Virgo, a mathematical placement that carries a heavy frequency of refinement, necessary adjustments, and a demand for self-improvement. It is as if the heavens are pointing a finger directly at the areas of your life that have become stagnant, swampy, or unclear, urging you to stop procrastinating and make the subtle but life-altering changes you've been avoiding. But listen closely, because this is the key to understanding the times we are living in. These cosmic events do not manufacture drama out of thin air just to mess with you. They do not force chaos upon you just for entertainment. Instead, they act as amplifiers for what is already festering beneath the surface, bringing hidden tensions, misalignments, and truths into undeniable focus. If there are hard decisions you have been dodging, toxic loops you have been repeating while sleepwalking, or relationships where the same old broken patterns keep rising from the dead, this eclipse in 2026 is going to blast them with light. Do not mistake this for punishment. This is illumination. This is grace. You might find that the small choices you make every day suddenly feel heavier, with more consequence, or that the internal war between what your spirit knows and what your flesh does becomes impossible to ignore. Virgo is demanding discernment, a careful audit of your life and practical execution, while that Pisces energy is demanding emotional authenticity, compassion for yourself and others, and a radical faith in the things you cannot see with your natural eyes. When these two forces collide in a total lunar eclipse, it is a divine ultimatum to check where you are living in extremes. Are you letting overthinking and rigid robotic routines strangle your intuition? Or are you floating away in fantasies and daydreams, neglecting the practical business that actually builds your legacy? You need to take a hard look at your daily operations, your health protocols, the architecture of your work-life balance, and exactly how you are showing up for the people around you. This eclipse has the potential to expose the friction you have been sweeping under the rug. Maybe it is a project you need to finish, a connection that needs a truthful conversation to either heal or end, or patterns in how you treat your own temple that need to be corrected. But do not let this crush you. View this event as a giant cosmic magnifying glass, revealing what is already present in your reality, but bringing it into high-definition clarity so you can finally deal with it. This is a prime moment for deep introspection as we move through 2026. Ask yourself, is the way I am living actually supporting the vision the Most High gave me? Family, we need to have a real, honest conversation about what is truly driving your vessel in these critical times. Are you moving by the frequency of your spirit, or are you still trapped in the rigid man-made structures of this falling world? In this season of 2026, the question isn't just about productivity. It is about whether you are carving out sacred space for divine download and revelation, or if you are solely focused on the grinding action of the matrix. When we look at the sign of the Virgin in the heavens, it is teaching us that discernment is the key to salvation, that refining our character is what leads to true liberation, and that we only find clarity when we stop looking at the chaos and start observing with spiritual eyes. On the flip side, the fishes, representing that deep, watery energy, remind us that the kingdom of heaven is not found in a corporate checklist or a 5-year plan, but in that deep, knowing that ability to surrender to the will of the Most High and trusting those invisible currents of the Holy Spirit that are guiding the remnant right now. When you bring these two forces together, you create a dialogue that is both practically grounded in truth and profoundly deep in ancient wisdom. You have to understand that this eclipse is not here to dictate your every move like a taskmaster. Rather, it is a celestial checkpoint, asking you to identify what is out of alignment with your destiny, to see where the friction of the beast system is wearing you down, and to consider how small, deliberate pivots can lead to massive breakthroughs. If you are paying attention, You might even start to feel these subtle nudges in your spirit regarding your decision-making, where sudden insights or moments of absolute clarity appear exactly when you need them. Almost as if the Creator is whispering secrets directly into your ear, bypassing the noise of the media and the confusion of the world. Do not ignore this. You need to pay close attention. Adjust your walk where needed. That is the true power and the mystery of these eclipses when viewed through prophetic eyes. The world wants you to believe these events are about chaos and fear, but for the chosen, they are about revelation. They create a necessary pause in the ordinary programming of your life. This is a divine opportunity to see the stark contrast between the empire you have built with your own hands and what your spirit actually requires. It exposes the gap between the world you navigate for survival and the world you navigate emotionally and spiritually. This axis between the Virgin and the fishes encourages us to look in the mirror without the spirit of fear, to have curiosity about our purpose without the overwhelm of the world, and to walk in awareness without the harsh judgment of the accusé. As the moon dips into the energy of the Virgin, your inner world might feel more alert than usual, like a watchman on the wall. Your mind becomes sharper, more focused on the truth, and your emotions become highly sensitive to the frequencies around you. You may start seeing how small adjustments in your daily walk can create ripples that completely shift the timeline of your life. And as the sun illuminates the sign of the fishes from the opposite side of the heavens, your heart may feel a gentle magnetic pull toward compassion, toward faith, and toward those spiritual things you cannot control with your hands, but must honor with your spirit. This eclipse then becomes a bridge over troubled waters, a rare and subtle alignment that calls for a restoration of balance, deep reflection, and the courage to integrate both the practicality of the law and the intuition of the spirit into your daily existence. So that by the time this season passes, you are not just seeing the world differently, you are seeing your true self more clearly, more deeply, and with a renewed sense of direction that aligns with the kingdom rather than the culture. As the moon in the Virgin steps into the totality of the eclipse, understand that this is not just lighting up the night sky for entertainment. It is acting like a cosmic spiritual scanner, casting a piercing light on the generational patterns and mental structures we carry inside our DNA, many of which we don't even realize are running the show. These aren't always the dramatic, life-altering shocks we see on the news. They are the subtle, quiet routines, the habits of Babylon, and the beliefs that have been guiding our choices without us ever giving our consent. The eclipse shines a gentle but revealing spotlight on these hidden frameworks of control, inviting us to notice them, acknowledge them for what they are, and consider whether they are still serving our high calling. Think of it as a mirror held up by the universe, reflecting back the invisible architecture of your life, so you can see if your foundation is built on rock or sand. The energy of the Virgin is precise, analytical, and discerning, separating the wheat from the chaff. It asks us to stop the perpetual motion and take a detailed inventory of the ways we have been operating on autopilot, asleep at the wheel. Which routines of the system dominate your day? Which programmed patterns shape your responses to your family and your situations? Which habits have snuck into your life so seamlessly that you have accepted them as normal, even if they no longer align with who you are as a divine being or who you are destined to become in this next chapter? Sometimes we live by unconscious contracts with society. I should always be productive for the economy. I must fix everything for everyone else while I suffer. If I am not strong, every second I am failing. The eclipse doesn't judge these habits. It simply illuminates them, giving you a chance to discern the difference between what you feel compelled to do by programming and what truly resonates with your inner man. This is also the moment where the contrasts between the world's expectations and your reality become crystal clear. You might feel a serious tension between the voice saying, "I should be doing more to please the system," versus the spirit saying, I need to do what is right for my soul, or between I have to fix everything and I need to express my authentic needs. The moon in the Virgin asks us to pause, reflect, and take inventory of our spiritual house. Which of these patterns are draining your vital energy, limiting your growth in the truth, or keeping you disconnected from the Most High? The beauty of this eclipse is that the Creator does not force change upon us. Free will is always the law. It simply asks the right questions, nudges you to wake up to awareness, and gives you a safe space to observe your life without the pressure or judgment of the outside world. Take a moment to reflect. Think of one habitual pattern that no longer serves your destiny. Maybe it is a way you respond to conflict, a routine you follow out of obligation to others, or an unspoken rule you have always lived by because you were taught it as a child. The eclipse illuminates it, almost as if these invisible habits are now visible under the blood-red light of the moon. Once you see them with open eyes, you can start to understand their origins, their influence over you, and the small adjustments that could shift how you move through your day, your relationships, and your inner world. You do not have to change everything at once. Rome wasn't built in a day, and Babylon won't fall in an hour. Awareness alone is already a profound step, a gentle opening of the door to total transformation. Sometimes these patterns aren't just personal to you, they are reflected in the collective energy around us as the entire world shifts gears. The Virgin's attention to detail, paired with the amplification of this eclipse, can show how societal habits, routines, and expectations subtly influence our choices to keep us asleep. Maybe it is the pressure to always be efficient, to function like a machine rather than a human being. It is that overwhelming pressure to wear the mask of having it all together, or that dangerous habit of putting the grind and production above the sanctity of your own soul and temple. When you start to clock these tendencies within your own spirit, you begin to recognize the same chains on the people around you. And looking through that prophetic lens creates room for grace, spiritual clarity, and the power to make conscious moves. This eclipse in 2026 encourages a serious conversation between the rigid laws of man and the divine intuition given by the Creator. The sign of the Virgin asks the critical question, what needs to be purified and refined, while the moon's total darkness demands deep introspection, asking, what dead weight am I carrying that I need to release? By mixing that demand for exactness with heightened spiritual awareness, you finally begin to discern the difference between rituals that actually build your kingdom and the distractions that are just squatting in your mental real estate. Patterns that used to operate in the shadows suddenly have a form and a name. And now, you stand at the crossroads of decision. You can choose to keep these strongholds, tweak them to fit your purpose, or cast them out of your life completely. This is a rare kingdom moment to pull back from the noise gaze with spiritual eyes and intentionally architect the next season of your daily walk. This is where asking the hard questions shifts from theory to practical spiritual warfare. Understand that this eclipse does not come down with a booming voice delivering a 10-step plan from the heavens. It simply exposes what is already lurking in your house, sometimes with a precision that shakes you to your core. That subtle revelation can be jarring to the spirit. It is the sudden recognition of a generational thought loop, a toxic reaction, or a limiting belief system, but seeing it is where your power lies. By identifying the enemy within you, reclaim your dominion. You can acknowledge these patterns, understand their root, and decide how to march forward in alignment with your true anointed self. In a real sense, this celestial event is less about the mechanics of the cosmos and more about the apocalypse, the unveiling happening inside your own soul. And so, as the moon bleeds into that deep prophetic crimson, it is as if the Most High is whispering to us, pay attention, look closer. Observe and wake up. It is a mandate to audit your inner temple, the loops playing in your mind, and the agreements you signed with the world system while you were asleep. By the time this eclipse passes over us, everything done in the dark will be brought to the light. What was running on autopilot is now under your command. And with that awakening comes a specific type of liberty, the ability to walk into your destiny with intention, focus, and a dangerous level of self-knowledge. The blood moon does not force your hand or violate your free will, but it lays a feast of wisdom and revelation at your feet, offering a window for a shift in your spirit that is gentle yet earth-shattering. As the moon in Virgo steps in to blot out the light, it is doing way more than just putting on a show for the night sky. It functions like a divine MRI, scanning the hidden architecture of our spirits and exposing the programs running in the background, many of which we did not even know were installed. We are not talking about thunderbolts and dramatic shocks. We are talking about the quiet, insidious routines and beliefs that have steered your ship without you ever touching the wheel. The eclipse beams a penetrating, revealing spotlight onto these hidden frameworks, challenging us to look them in the face, name them, and ask if they are still serving the kingdom we are building. Consider it a looking glass held up by the heavens, reflecting back the invisible blueprints of your life that you usually ignore. The energy of this sign is exacting, analytical, and sharp as a two-edged sword. It commands us to halt the hustle and take a strict inventory of the ways we have been sleepwalking through our existence. Which rituals rule your rising and your resting? Which emotional triggers dictate how you treat your brothers and sisters? Which worldly habits slid into your life so smoothly that you claimed them as your own, even though they contradict the royal lineage you come from and the person you are destined to be? Too many of us are walking around bound by unconscious contracts we never read. I have to grind until I break. I must be the savior for everybody else. If I show any weakness, I am failing the mission. The eclipse brings no condemnation to these habits. It simply turns on the floodlights, allowing you to discern the difference between the burdens the world put on you and the calling the Creator actually gave you. This is the hour of separation where the contrasts become undeniable. You might feel the war between society says I should do more and my spirit knows what is right for me, or the battle between fixing the external world and honoring your internal needs. The Virgo moon demands an accounting pause, reflect and check the fruit. Which of these patterns are vampiric, sucking your energy dry, stunting your growth, or keeping you separated from your truth? The beauty of this prophetic sign is that it does not force an eviction. It simply asks the right questions, nudges your spirit awake, and provides a sanctuary to observe the mess without the pressure of immediate judgment. Stop right now and meditate. Identify one chain, one recurring loop that has overstayed its welcome. Maybe it is the way you lash out when challenged, a routine you follow just to please others, or a silent law you obey that keeps you small. The eclipse exposes it like forensic evidence under a red light. Once you see these invisible habits, you can start to understand their origins, their influence over your life, and the micro-adjustments that could completely shift how you move through your day, your relationships, and your inner world. You do not need to overthrow the whole kingdom in a single day. Just waking up to the truth is a massive victory, a gentle cracking of the door that leads to total deliverance and transformation. Understand that these patterns are not just personal, they are ripples in the collective atmosphere. The precision of this sign, paired with the eclipse's amplification, shows how the beast system's habits, routines, and heavy expectations have subtly hijacked our choices and influenced the way we walk. It could be the crushing weight of this Babylonian system demanding that you operate like a machine, or that programmed need to present a false image of perfection to the world while your spirit is weary. When you finally stop running and start observing these destructive patterns within your own spirit, you begin to break the chains of mental slavery. You start to recognize the same programming in the people around you, and that lens of observation shifts from judgment to a powerful discernment, creating space for true compassion and a higher state of consciousness. This celestial event is not just a rock moving in the sky. It is a biblical sign calling for a dialogue between your earthly discipline and your spiritual intuition. The Virgo energy asks, what needs to be purified in the fire, while the moon's totality demands a deep, soul-searching reflection. What dead weight, what sin or what burden am I carrying that I need to release in this season of 2026? By marrying biblical precision with spiritual awareness, you begin to separate the wheat from the chaff, distinguishing between the rituals that edify your spirit and the distractions that are merely occupying territory in your mind. Suddenly, the invisible chains binding you become visible, and for the first time, you have the sovereign power to decide whether to keep those habits, modify them for the kingdom, or cast them into the sea entirely. This is a rare divine appointment to step back from the chaos of the world, look closely at the architecture of your life, and consciously design the next level of your walk in these end times. This is where self-inquiry transforms from a simple mental exercise into a profound spiritual warfare tactic. We know that this eclipse isn't just about reading a horoscope. It represents a shifting of the atmosphere. It shines a light on what is already dwelling in your temple, exposing the hidden things with a level of accuracy that feels almost prophetic. That subtle illumination can be shocking to the flesh. You might suddenly recognize a repetitive generational curse, a toxic response mechanism, or a limiting belief that has held you back from your destiny. But understand this, family, that revelation is empowering because you cannot fight an enemy you cannot see. By seeing it, you reclaim your God-given authority. You can acknowledge these demonic patterns, understand their root, and make a decree to move forward in alignment with the Most High and your true purpose. In a spiritual sense, this eclipse becomes less about the astronomical alignment in the heavens and more about the alignment of the temple within. As we move deeper into the frequencies of this Virgo lunar eclipse, it is time to bring this high-level cosmic conversation down to the ground floor to see how the spirit of discernment, exactness, and purification of Virgo can manifest in your daily walk. We aren't just talking about symbols in a chart or ancient archetypes found in dusty library books. We are talking about the spirit of stewardship that notices the details, the watchman on the wall that keeps our routines holy and functional. The voice that asks, is this bearing good fruit? This is the energy that governs the health of our vessel, the clarity of our mind, our daily rituals, and even how we interact with the environments, and the spirits operating in the people around us. And during a season like this, specifically a total lunar eclipse in the sign of the Virgin, these areas of our lives are put under a divine microscope. You don't need a catastrophic event for the shift to be real. The eclipse acts as a spiritual amplifier, turning up the volume on truths that are already present but ignored. It exposes the cracks in the foundation, the weak spots in our armor that need refinement, adjustment, or just a little more conscious stewardship to prevent a breach. It is like the Creator whispering to your spirit, here is where you can be more aligned with my will, more effective in the kingdom, and more true to who I called you to be. Let's get practical and talk about your labor and productivity, because this is the area where the Virgo energy manifests most clearly in the physical realm. We have been brainwashed to believe that busyness equals progress. But the spirit of Virgo asks a deeper question. Is this labor effective, or is it just a habit of slavery? Maybe you are grinding yourself to dust for a paycheck, working through tasks without noticing whether they actually advance your destiny or simply keep you trapped in the matrix. This eclipse is a mandate to pause and judge your own works. Are you working with wisdom, or are you just following the old routines of the world system? Are there ways to bring divine order, structure, or intentionality to your daily flow so that each action has spiritual weight instead of just physical movement? Even small changes, like a more organized schedule that honors your time, prioritizing the missions that truly matter to the Most High. or letting go of the idolatry of perfectionism in areas that don't require it can have a ripple effect that makes your life feel lighter, more focused, and surprisingly manageable in a time of chaos. Then we have to talk about the temple, your body, your health, and your physical discipline. Virgo energy governs the tangible, practical maintenance of the vessel. And during this eclipse, the light is shining on the health habits we have been ignoring to our own detriment. Are you getting the rest required for spiritual downloads? Are you nourishing the body or poisoning it? Are there small disciplines you've skipped for months or years that your body is quietly screaming at you to resume? The moon in Virgo encourages a check-in with your physical vessel that isn't about worldly vanity or pressure from society. It is about deep bodily awareness and stewardship of the gift of life. Even subtle adjustments like adding a prayer walk, drinking living water, or creating a simple bedtime ritual to protect your dream state can align your energy in ways you might not expect. True health isn't always about dramatic transformations. Sometimes it is about gently realigning with the ancient paths and natural remedies that already work but have been overlooked in favor of quick fixes. Virgo also rules over service, our dealings with our neighbors, and the ways we pour out into others. During this eclipse season, you might notice patterns where you are casting your pearls before swine, overgiving to those who drain you, or trying to play savior instead of just holding space. The spirit of discernment asks, where do you give without receiving? Where are you stretching yourself to the breaking point for people who wouldn't cross the street for you? This isn't about condemnation. It is about recognizing the unequal yokes. It encourages you to examine the delicate balance between loving your neighbor and loving yourself, as the scripture commands. Are there areas where setting godly boundaries or humbling yourself to ask for support could create more harmony in your household? Are there moments where stepping back and letting someone else carry their own load allows everyone to grow up? Small shifts in this area can create enormous breakthroughs in your relationships, making your connections feel lighter, more conscious, and more fulfilling, rather than being a source of constant draining warfare. One of the most powerful ways to operate in this Virgo energy during this eclipse is through intentional small actions that build the kingdom within. Listen, family, you do not have to burn your entire house down overnight to see a breakthrough in your spirit. The truth is, real power moves in silence and subtlety. You need to ask yourself right now, what is the one minor pivot? The single adjustment I can execute today that will bring my daily walk and my grind back into alignment with the divine order and the Most High's plan for my life. It might just be carving out 10 minutes to shut out the noise of Babylon and get into your prayer closet for some deep reflection. It could be writing a vision list that values spiritual weight over busy work, or finally clocking that one toxic cycle in your conversations that keeps dragging your vibration down to a low frequency. The majestic power of these minute calculated moves is that they stack up like bricks in a fortress, building a foundation of unshakable peace and kingdom order that will keep you standing tall long after this celestial sign passes over us in 2026. This eclipse is a wake-up call that alignment isn't about being perfect in the flesh. It is about waking up and paying attention to the signs. The energy of this season shows us that stewardship over the details isn't about being rigid or controlling. It is a high form of reverence for the vessel and the destiny the Creator has entrusted to you. When you are faithful over the little things, you clear the runway for major blessings to land without crashing. When your rituals, your hustle, your health, and your circle are all moving to the same beat, you stop moving like a leaf in the wind and start moving like a warrior with a mission fully equipped to handle whatever the system throws at you with laser focus. This eclipse acts as a divine highlighter, a signal from the heavens that intensifies everything happening on the ground and puts your life under a cosmic microscope. The parts of your walk that are out of order are going to be exposed not to crush you, but to give you the power to break those chains once and for all. Understand this: the vibration of this season connected to the Virgin constellation is about tangible, real-world repentance and transformation. It is a practical anointing that helps you clean house, whether that means fixing your marriage, getting your diet right to honor the temple, or finally catching yourself where you have been sleepwalking through the matrix and operating on autopilot. The heavens are calling you to alignment, and let me tell you, the shift doesn't need to be loud to be legendary. It just needs to be true. By making even one righteous move today, one decision to choose discipline over comfort in your work or your body, you are stepping right into the flow of this prophetic timeline, honoring the call for purity and setting off a chain reaction of blessings that will echo in your lineage long after the sky clears up. Now, as we go deeper into this season of judgment and revelation in 2026, we have to talk about the spirit realm and the emotional currents running beneath the surface. That blood-red moon hanging in the night sky isn't just a pretty picture. It is a prophetic symbol of deep, internal purging and spiritual distillation. It is demanding that we look at the heavy baggage we have been dragging around in the wilderness, looking at the pressure cooking underneath our skin and the unresolved trauma we have allowed to sit heavy on our spirits. This is not about operating in a spirit of fear. This is not a doom and gloom warning meant to shake you into panic. Instead, it is a divine mandate to be still and recognize the truth of your condition. Consider it a magnifying glass from the Most High, showing you exactly where the enemy has a foothold in your emotions, so you can cast it out and be free. The energy right now is operating with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel, cutting away the rot without damaging the soul. We aren't looking for chaos or confusion here. We are looking at a steady, methodical march towards spiritual maturity and emotional clarity. You do not have to become a saint in a single second or fix every issue by sunrise. This is about the slow burn of sanctification, grinding away the rough edges until you shine like the jewels in the high priest's breastplate, catching the light of truth. During this prophetic window, you are being called to audit those subtle feelings that have been secretly piloting your life and dictating your choices. These are the silent killers, the subtle generational habits that don't scream for attention but slowly rot the foundation of your house. The signs in the heavens are exposing these roots, asking you to decide what bears fruit and what needs to be cut off and thrown into the fire. Here is a kingdom strategy you can use to navigate these turbulent waters and release that dead weight. Before the eclipse hits its peak, sit down and script out one specific burden or stronghold that has been tormenting your spirit. I'm talking about that weight you have been chained to for weeks, months, or maybe even years of your life. Maybe it is an old grudge, a spirit of doubt, or a martyr complex. Putting it on paper strips it of its power to hide in the dark and manipulate you. You are dragging that demon into the light of truth and forcing your mind to deal with what has been lurking in the shadows of your subconscious. When the moon turns to blood, look at that paper and meditate on how you are going to flip that script through the power of the Spirit. Use the sharp discernment available in this season to dissect the issue with no lies and no excuses. Ask yourself, what is the one tangible move I can make right now to take this yoke off my neck? What is the vow you can make to the Creator today that will align your heart with your destiny and shake off the past? You have to ask, what part of this old slavery mentality am I still holding on to that doesn't fit the king or queen I am becoming? Prophecy doesn't always mean immediate completion, but it does mean immediate revelation of the spiritual junk you have hoarded. By calling it by its name and facing it without condemnation, you clear the atmosphere for a true breakthrough and kingdom integration. This season is ordained for this specific work because it demands order, structure, and a return to the foundations of truth. This celestial alignment provides the divine wisdom needed to surgically dissect the condition of your spirit, allowing you to examine the tangible effects of these energies on your daily walk. It empowers you to systematically sever ties with the burdens, strongholds, and old mindsets that are hindering your ascension, rather than letting you get swept away by chaotic emotional outbursts or reckless impulsive moves that lead nowhere. The profound beauty of this prophetic season is that the release we experience under this Virgo lunar eclipse doesn't require a public spectacle or a loud performative display of righteousness. We are not talking about a fleeting moment of intense purging that leaves you empty. We are talking about a disciplined, consistent, and spirit-led examination of the soul that builds true resilience. Every single revelation you receive, every pattern you identify, and every subtle recalibration in how you govern your spirit creates a massive foundational shift that compounds brick by brick into an unshakable fortress over time. This process grants you the authority to walk through your life with a regal composure, standing tall amidst the chaos of the world system, operating with a mind sharpened by truth and a heart unburdened by the heavy yokes of the past. Burdens that once felt like a crushing weight on your shoulders suddenly become identifiable, manageable, and completely transformable through the power of the Most High. Furthermore, this specific eclipse serves as a cosmic wake-up call, reminding us that spiritual and emotional energy is never isolated to just one individual. The vibration released by the moon impacts the collective consciousness of the nations, shifting the atmosphere in our communities, even if the sleeping masses only feel it on a subconscious level. As you stand on your watch to observe, release, and integrate these lessons, you are aligning yourself not only with your personal destiny, but with the greater awakening rhythm of the chosen people and human consciousness at large. This explains why these eclipses often hit us so hard in the spirit. The moon is reflecting the deep-seated patterns we share as a collective people, yet it simultaneously holds up a private, intimate mirror for every single observer to face their own truth. In this sacred manner, your commitment to emotional and spiritual awareness contributes directly to the breaking of chains and a subtle shared shift in the global consciousness we are all connected to. Even as you tend to the garden of your own inner world, as the moment of totality draws near and the heavens darken, visualize that red moon as a silent but commanding prophetic guide, highlighting the specific territories within your soul, where divine clarity and order must be cultivated for the battles ahead. Give yourself permission to observe the truth without condemnation, release the baggage without fighting the process, and integrate the new wisdom without trying to force doors open that God hasn't unlocked yet. By the time this eclipse concludes, the energy you have poured into this spiritual work will leave you feeling lighter, sharper, and fully aligned with your authentic, God-given identity. The illumination from the moon does not erase the history of our struggles, but it shines a light on a new perspective, teaching us how to carry our story with dignity and move forward with purposeful intention. The clarity we gain in this season isn't about flashy miracles. It is grounded, steady, and deeply transformative, creating ripples of change that quietly but profoundly alter the trajectory of your entire life. As we prepare to navigate the final leg of our journey through this powerful Virgo lunar eclipse, it is critical that we zoom out and perceive not just our individual struggles, but the massive, overarching cycles we are living through. We must recognize that we are part of a much larger story, identifying not just our personal habits, but the ancestral and societal patterns that are shifting right now. These eclipses are not random accidents. They adhere to precise celestial rhythms established at the foundation of the world, tracked by the ancients for centuries to reveal the prophetic patterns of human development and judgment. This specific event, on March 3, 2026, falls within a very narrow and potent eclipse season, signaling a time of accelerated timeline shifts. This means it is not merely an isolated astronomical event, but a divine punctuation mark, the closing of a significant spiritual chapter that began with the precursors like the solar eclipse back in February. Consider this moment as the universe and the Creator, offering you a gentle but firm nudge to pay attention to the signs of the times. Think about the narrative you began writing earlier this year, the spiritual themes you have been wrestling with, and the recurring patterns you have started to notice in your environment. This eclipse is an open invitation for deep reflection, integration, and the refinement of your character. Eclipses have a way of spotlighting the cycles of repetition that keep us trapped. We are not seeing exact repetitions, but rather echoes of the past spiritual tests coming back around. These are moments where unresolved trauma or uncompleted lessons circle back, granting us one more opportunity to see them with Holy Spirit clarity and break the cycle for good. Sometimes these cycles manifest in our career struggles, our relationships, our health, or our emotional stability. Other times, they appear in the societal rhythms, revealing how our communities react to systemic changes or global events. The true beauty of this Virgo lunar eclipse lies in its nature. It does not come to overwhelm us with unnecessary cosmic drama or confusion. Instead, it provides a lens of absolute cutting clarity. The energy of Virgo demands discernment, divine organization, and surgical precision in how we handle our business. It poses the critical question, which structures, systems, and relationships in your life are actually serving your divine purpose, and which ones are dead weight, ready to be refined or cut off completely. The eclipse shines a light on what has been hidden in plain sight, exposing the things we have ignored or swept under the rug. It reveals both the strong foundations you have built well and the cracks where misalignments and compromises have allowed the enemy to take hold over time. On a personal level, this is a call to examine recurring themes with curiosity rather than self-judgment. Perhaps you have observed the same old challenges resurfacing in your relationships, the same spirits of division operating. You might see old arguments coming back from the dead, toxic habits reappearing, or emotions cycling in loops that feel disturbingly familiar to your past. Maybe your career path or your health routines have left you feeling stuck in a wilderness loop, spinning your wheels despite your best efforts to move forward. The eclipse demands that you pause and reflect. What are you finally ready to finalize, adjust, or completely release from your spirit? Which of your daily actions, your covenants, or your thought patterns are truly aligned with your growth, and which ones are anchors holding you back in the old world? By identifying these stumbling blocks now, you give yourself the power to close these chapters consciously rather than letting life force you to repeat the harsh lessons of the past unconsciously. There are practical, tangible ways to harness this energy for your integration. Writing the vision and making it plain through journaling is a powerful weapon in this season. Document the recurring patterns you have witnessed this year. Write them down and ask the Most High what specific insights and wisdom they hold for your future. Deep meditation and prayer can help you tune into the subtle shifts in the atmosphere, connecting you to the sharp clarity that the Virgo energy brings to the table. Even having real, meaningful conversations with trusted brothers, sisters, or mentors can help illuminate your blind spots and provide a fresh perspective on the themes you have been circling around. The goal is not to force a miraculous change overnight. It is to recognize the season, reflect on the truth, and begin aligning your steps with the natural rhythm of divine resolution. We are walking through a critical valley of decision, family, where every single deliberate move you make right now is building up a spiritual kinetic energy that is going to carry you through the tribulations and triumphs of the coming months. Understand that this blood moon isn't just about your individual walk. It is a celestial signal that the cycles of the individual believer and the cycles of the nations are locked together in a divine dance of cause and effect. While you are busy cleaning your own house and getting your spirit right, you have to keep your spiritual eyes open to the massive shifting rhythms shaking the very foundations of the world around you. Look at how the system, what we call Babylon, is crumbling, forcing our communities and institutions to re-examine their ancient structures, challenge the status quo, and completely realign their priorities with truth. These solar and lunar events serve as mirrors in the firmament, reflecting the collective vibration of humanity back to us, turning up the volume on our spiritual awareness so we can't ignore the signs. They grant us a prophetic vantage point to see exactly where we need purification and truth, not just in our secret prayer closets, but in the public square and the social fabric of our people. When you operate with this double vision, seeing both the flesh and the spirit, the self and the collective, you begin to understand your life's true context within the Great Awakening. You realize that when you break a generational curse, that shockwave ripples outward to heal the timeline. As the moon turns to blood in the sign of the Virgin, it is a command to stop, catch your breath, and meditate on the harvest. Ask yourself, what spirits have been knocking at your door over and over again this year? What hard lessons has the Most High placed in your path repeatedly until you finally paid attention? What toxic cycles and mental bondages are finally ready to be broken, sanctified, or cast into the fire? The heavy revelatory energy of this eclipse has arrived specifically to back you up in this deliverance process, to manifest these spiritual downloads into physical reality, empowering you to step boldly into your next season of destiny with 2020 spiritual vision and divine alignment. When you wake up and actively participate with these cosmic time clocks, you stop looking at the eclipse as just some science experiment in the sky and start seeing it as a personal message from the Creator, transforming it into a kairos moment, a time for action where the Spirit guides you gently but firmly toward resolving the conflict in your soul, leading you to the refiner's fire and pushing you toward your purpose. This is the true prophetic essence of the blood moon rising in Virgo. It demands clarity through watching the signs, wholeness through deep meditation, and making choices that align with the Most High's will for both your bloodline and the collective consciousness. Listen closely. This is not the season to run ahead of God or try to force open doors that are meant to stay shut. This is about unveiling the hidden things of darkness, giving thanks for the wisdom gained in the struggle, and allowing the Holy Spirit to order your next steps with a quiet, unshakable confidence. By the time this celestial cycle closes, everything that the light has exposed will be woven into your testimony, creating a sense of divine completion and preparing you for the new thing that is springing forth. As we bring this study of the March 3rd, 2026, Virgo blood moon to a close, take a beat to let the gravity of this prophecy settle in your spirit. Do not be deceived. This is not just some pretty light show arranged by NASA for your entertainment. This is a cosmic mirror held up by the Almighty, a solemn invitation to examine your ways, your choices, and the timeline you are walking. The moon turning to blood is not designed to sow fear or panic in the righteous. It is a beacon sent to illuminate the path, to shepherd the flock, and to reveal exactly what needs to be pruned, purged, or embraced in this season of judgment. It doesn't matter if the struggle is in your career, your marriage, your physical temple, or the secret battles in your mind. This eclipse speaks the same universal truth. True revelation comes from being still and watching, not from rushing into battle. True healing comes from sitting with the discomfort, not trying to force a breakthrough before it's time. Be still, take a breath of life, and discern the shift in the atmosphere. Let this rare alignment remind you that in the kingdom, every end is a new beginning, and every shadow proves there is a light shining somewhere. March 3rd is not just another random square on the Gregorian calendar, family. It is a portal to higher consciousness, prophetic insight, and spiritual evolution. You need to walk through that door with intention and authority and let your next chapter unfold with divine purpose and power.